The Failed Holy Crusades. A story of misguided zeal and lost glory. Please stay to the end where we can explain the legacy of these failed crusades. In the High Middle Ages, the roar of battle and the cry of Deus Vult, God wills it, echoed across Europe. From the castles of France to the hills of Germany, thousands of knights, peasants, kings, and even children took up arms to reclaim the Holy Land from Muslim control. They were called Crusaders. But not every crusade ended in triumph. In fact, many ended in disaster, failed ambitions, broken alliances, and tragic losses. This is the story of the failed crusades, where zeal met harsh reality, and where history took a darker turn. The Second Crusade, 1147 to 1149. Our journey begins with the Second Crusade. After the shocking fall of Edessa, one of the first Crusader states established during the First Crusade, Christian Europe was outraged. Pope Eugenius III called for a new crusade, and two mighty kings responded, Louis VII of France and Conrad III of Germany. But from the outset, things went terribly wrong. The German forces were ambushed by Turkish warriors in the harsh terrain of Anatolia. Those who survived were weakened and demoralized. The French fared no better. Starving, diseased, and exhausted, they too stumbled across hostile territory. Their final effort, the siege of Damascus in 1148, ended in catastrophe. Poor coordination and mistrust among the Crusader leaders led to a hasty retreat. The crusade achieved absolutely nothing, and worse, it strengthened the hand of Muslim leaders like Nur ad-Din, who would soon unify Syria and threaten the very heart of the Crusader states. The Fourth Crusade, 1202 to 1204. If the Second Crusade was a disaster, the Fourth was a betrayal. It began with a plan to strike at Egypt, the key to controlling the eastern Mediterranean, but the Crusaders couldn't pay the Venetians for the fleet they'd built. In exchange, the Venetians demanded help to capture Zara, a Christian city on the Dalmatian coast. The Crusaders agreed, and excommunicated themselves in the process. Then came a twist of fate. A Byzantine prince promised them gold and support if they helped him reclaim his throne in Constantinople. The Crusaders obliged, but when promises went unfulfilled, they sacked the greatest Christian city in the East in 1204. Constantinople, filled with priceless relics, libraries, and churches, was looted and desecrated. The Crusade never reached the Holy Land. Instead, it shattered the Byzantine Empire and deepened the East-West schism in Christianity. The Fifth Crusade, 1217 to 1221. Undeterred, Europe launched the Fifth Crusade. This time, the strategy was more measured. Take Egypt, the heart of Muslim power, and use it as a base to retake Jerusalem. The Crusaders landed and successfully captured the city of Damietta on the Nile Delta. But they overreached, pushing deeper into Egypt without securing their supply lines. They found themselves trapped by the annual flooding of the Nile. As the waters rose, so did their misfortunes. Disease spread, morale crumbled, and the Muslim forces counterattacked. Surrounded and starving, the Crusaders surrendered. They were allowed to evacuate, but only after agreeing to return Damietta. Another crusade had ended in humiliation. The Children's Crusade, 1212. Perhaps the strangest tale of all comes not from kings or knights, but from children. According to chroniclers, a young shepherd from France named Stephen of Cloyes claimed he had received a divine vision to peacefully reclaim Jerusalem. Thousands of children followed him, believing that their innocence alone could succeed where armies had failed. But the Holy Land was far away. Many died en route, and some were even reportedly sold into slavery. It's unclear how many ever made it to the sea, or whether this crusade was more myth than reality. But it stands as a haunting symbol of the crusading era: fervor, naivety, and tragic consequence. The Seventh Crusade, 1248 to 1254. Now enter Louis IX of France, later canonized as Saint Louis. Deeply pious, he launched the Seventh Crusade with renewed purpose, aiming again at Egypt. He seized Damietta, as others had done before him, but the road inland was no easier than in the Fifth Crusade. His army was devastated by disease and ambushed near Mansoura. Captured by the Egyptian Mamluks, Louis was forced to pay a massive ransom for his release. He stayed in the Holy Land for a time, but little was gained. France returned home poorer, and the crusading dream ever more elusive. The Eighth Crusade, 1270. Despite past failures, Louis IX tried once more in 1270, this time aiming not at Egypt or Jerusalem, but Tunis, in North Africa. It was a baffling decision. Some historians suggest he hoped to convert the local sultan to Christianity. But Louis never even made it to battle. Almost as soon as he landed, disease swept through the camp, and the king himself died of dysentery. The crusade collapsed soon after. The Ninth Crusade, 1271 to 1272. The final gasp of the crusading movement came from Prince Edward of England, the future Edward I. Arriving in the Holy Land in 1271, he fought several minor skirmishes and negotiated truces with local leaders. But it was too little, too late. The Crusader presence in the Holy Land was fading fast. By 1291, the great city of Acre, the last Crusader stronghold, fell to the Mamluks. The dream of reclaiming Jerusalem was over. This was the end of the crusading age. So what did these failed crusades leave behind? A legacy of disillusionment, fractured alliances, and deep mistrust between East and West. Despite noble intentions, most of these campaigns achieved little but suffering. Entire generations of men and women followed a divine call, only to find ruin, disease, betrayal, or death. And yet, the stories endure. They speak not only to medieval ambition and religious fervor, but to the harsh truth that faith without wisdom and war without strategy often ends in tragedy. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this historical deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments which period of history you'd like to hear more about.